Hello, it is time for yet another book review, and today I'm about to start reading Shadows of Self by Brandon Sanderson. This is the second book in the Mistborn New Era series, so it's also known as the Wax and Wane series. So this is number 2. However, there are 3 books in the original Mistborn series that I've already read. Check out those videos if you haven't already. And so, just a bit of a warning, there will be some Cosmere spoilers in this video from the original Mistborn trilogy, definitely some stuff from Stormlight Archive, and from the first book, which was Wax and Wane's Alloy of Law. And so this is the second book. So a bit of a recap of what happened in Wax and Wane. So this basically takes place 300 years after the original Mistborn series. And what is interesting about it is think Industrial Revolution. There's guns, there's rifles, there's trains, there's automobiles, that kind of vibe going on. And it's like a detective kind of story. So definitely very different than a lot of the stuff from Brandon Sanderson that I have read before, where it's very fantasy based, very like medieval kind of feeling. This one still, of course, has that cool magic. There's like the whole magic system with like the metals, and then depend on the metal that you ingest, you have like different abilities. And if you can control all the metals, you are basically like Mistborn, which in the original, our main character Vin was, and so was Kelsier. However, 300 years later, being Mistborn is actually not common at all, and people don't even think they exist anymore. And so in Wax and Wane, we follow along a cast of characters. We have Wax, aka Waxillium, and he is basically, he came from this family, and they were, rich, had some good money and stuff. And he eventually just pieced out and he went to the roughs, which think kind of like the wild, wild west, no laws. And he becomes like a lawmaker there. And he's also twinborn. So he has an interesting ability with his kind of powers where he can make himself heavier or make himself lighter, which is pretty cool because if you remember Sazed in the original Mistborn series, he had that, and he had the metal mines as well. And this is where his counterpart, Wayne, who's also his friend, is also a lawmaker, comes into play because he also has the metal mines that help him heal, and he can also slow down time and all that good stuff. For Wax as well, I forgot to mention, he can also, he either pushes or he's a coin shot. So it's like he can shoot the metals and jump off of metals and all that cool stuff. And then another character that we follow is Marcy. I think I say that right. And she is basically like actually the one of the daughters of this Duke guy, but he is supposed to be courting his like known daughter. Like Marcy is like pretends to be the cousin. It's like a whole thing. But like she's like the perfect girl for him. And like they solve crime together, like in the last book with Miles, and it's like they better get together at the end of this because why is he courting the cousin? Not the cousin. Why is he courting the wrong sister in this? Makes me mad. Makes me mad, my friends. But yeah, so the book basically ended with the discovery of, oh my goodness, Wax's uncle is actually still alive, and he's like Mr. Suit, who's like kind of this big bad like crime boss guy. And so now Wax and Wane and friends, I imagine this book is going to follow like, okay, what do we do about this? And so from my understanding, this book is going to continue off of that. And now like Wax and Wane and Marcy have, the jurisdiction to actually, do crime solving stuff without being, getting in trouble and stuff about that because they were kind of granted that in the last book. So I bet we're going to see more of these 3 solving crimes and stuff, and it's going to relate to the uncle. So yeah, that's pretty much my expectations. I think the book is going to be very fun. I think it's going to have lots of cool mysteries and detective vibes to it. So without further ado, let's just crack this book right open. So I'm a little bit more than 100 pages into Shadows of Self, and here are my thoughts so far. It is so fun to be back with these characters. I I just love the way that they all contrast against each other. Wayne is just so funny to me. I just love him. I love that he trades stuff. He's like, "Oh yeah, like I'll give you like a bottle of whiskey for your hat," or, "Oh, I'll leave like an envelope in place of taking this like fancy gold dolly and stuff." Like, I just really love it. I think it's so fun, and I love like his moral code and the way that he's able to mimic other accents and really just being able to kind of blend into wherever it is to kind of get the answers and figure out what he needs to figure out. I think it's just so fun. And he does it all without using any of his abilities aside from, the speed bubble when he like switches into a different outfit and stuff. But like picking up the accents and stuff is just all Wayne. And then we also have Wax, who is kind of going through, I guess, some kind of crisis, it seems, where it's like when he was in the roughs, he was the guy who would dress really nice and like all that good stuff. But now that he's in like Ellendale, he's not just the only person who wears nice stuff. So he's trying to find a way to like differentiate, like find his thin of like how to make him stand out as like a lawmaker. So like he has his mist cloak and stuff. So that's gonna be interesting. But like his relationship with Morrissey is like so awkward right now because he's marrying her sister. And like I don't think she understands, and I don't think he understands the way that it's like affecting each other, because she's like, why doesn't he see me as a colleague? Like he already rejected me. I understand it. Like, why can't he just see me as a colleague? Like, what's kind of going on? Like, they don't have their usual banter and that kind of stuff. Like, he's putting a lot of distance between them. And for him, it's like he's like, I don't want to lead her on, anything like this. And it's like, oh, come on, man. Like, come on. But yeah, the story itself is exactly as I kind of expected. We're introduced to kind of a new mystery that's also related to Mr. Suit. So bunch of stuff has happened, and of course our characters have been pulled into it and now they're investigating. So I'm excited to see like where this is going to go, and like really just how deep are the layers for what Wax's uncle is up to. Like that's going to be really fun. Just like the whole like Sherlock Holmes detective kind of vibes is honestly a vibe for me. I think it's definitely a bit jarring though when you compare it to like how, I guess, kind of magical like the original Mistborn was. Whereas this one, it's way more modern. So I feel like that's always just like a little bit of like a whoa. Like sometimes I forget it's a Sanderson story, but like not in a bad way. Like it's still a good story, but it's just so different than the stuff he usually writes. And I am having a good time with it. I'm excited to see where it's going to go. So, yeah, I'm going to continue to read this book and I'll update you around the halfway mark. So, I will see you then. So I'm now definitely more than halfway through Shadows of Self. And like this book, I really, really am enjoying it. It's better than the first one. I think it finally knows exactly like where it wants to go and what it wants to be. And it's so fun. The first book was very like introductory of the book and like what Mistborn looks like 300 years later. We're introduced to our characters. We have like a hunt down the bad guy kind of plot. But this one, all the pieces are like in play now. And so I'm really enjoying like the direction that it's going, and a lot of the stuff that we're learning too, like with Wax's uncle. And we kind of had that big reveal in the last book about him being like Mr. Suit and all of this stuff. So like how far he reaches and the pieces that he's moving. And maybe even he's a pawn. Like it's hard to say. Like he looks like he's the big bad guy, but who knows? And then uh the main focus of this book with what with who the bad guy is in this one is really, really good. And I am absolutely eating it up. It's everything that I loved about the first Mistborn, minus the heist part. And I really am just like so obsessed with how it's all weaved together and like where it's going, and how everything is set up to basically topple down. It also has some really kind of interesting questions that are asked throughout the book, specifically to Wax, because he's a lawman. And so there's this kind of lingering question of like, Wax, if you were born 300 years ago, like, would you be against like Kelsier and Vin? Like, would you see them as the bad guys despite them being the heroes? Like, what would that look like for you? And I just think it's really interesting to think about. And it's not something that he really thinks about. He kind of like rejects it and moves away from it. But it makes me wonder because I think that he would have been the good guy still. Like, I think he would be more in line with like Marsh and how you think, oh no, this guy's gonna be like a bad guy now, but it's actually no, he's not a bad guy and he's like there to help, that kind of stuff. Which also that too, like with Marsh's kind of like scene at the end of the last book, and like now we get to see the book that he gave them and like what it has in it and the relevance of it to this story. I absolutely love it, and I'm really excited because I think that this kind of plot line seems to be the main one now, and it looks like there's two more books in Wax and Wayne, so I'm wondering if that's going to kind of carry over because the first book honestly could have been like a one-off minus the way that it ended, but it could have been a one-off. And so now with this one going more in depth and exploring not just the world and the characters, but really where the plot is going and like what that means for the future of this Mistborn world, definitely seems like something that's going to expand into multiple books. And I'm really excited about that because like I'm loving where this book is going. So I'm going to continue to read Shadows of Self, and I will update you when I finish it. So I will see you then with my final thoughts and what I will rate this book. I just finished reading Shadows of Self. That ending. That plot twist? Are you kidding me? Sanderson. Ouch. This is what I love about Brandon Sanderson. This is the stuff that just like it keeps me up at night. It just like blows my mind, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Like he's so unpredictable, and this book is just yet another example among many that just showcases this in such a wonderful way. This book, I loved it so much, to be honest. I think that the pacing of it was really good. I really liked the whole mystery aspect, but how it's been tied into like the Mistborn lore, which I think really just adds an extra like aspect of richness to it. The little small nods to the original Mistborn, like how Ham has this whole like section of the town dedicated to him, like by his name, and then there's also like some for Doxson and like all the other characters who were part of the crew. I just thought was a really nice addition, and it's just wholesome. It's just wholesome, and it's kind of funny because it's like, and it's just like really cool because it's like these characters. It's not just named after some random person from some random time. It's like no, these are actual characters that we knew from the original trilogy, which I just thought it was really a really cool addition. Like with the Marewill flowers, my soul. And then the direction that this book went in, especially with the part that I can't say because this is supposed to be a spoiler-free review, but we'll talk about it when I read the next book. That whole thing was wonderful, and I loved seeing characters like that. And it's just like really fun. Everything's coming full circle, and it's like there's so many layers to this. And then like with Harmony slash Say's kind of like influence throughout the entire book, that's really cool, and I'm really excited to see where that goes too. Just wonderful. Wonderful yet again. And I love that we're expanding the cast of characters and that there's more plot twists and stuff. I think that I found the first one for this new era on the weaker end, but I still enjoyed it. But this one, like, it really feels like the Sanderson that I know. And I know that, like, this is just like many years later, and it's like trying to compare Elantris to like Stormlight. It's not really fair because he's grown so much as a writer that You know what I mean? Like, it's just not really fair to be like, oh yeah, like that. But like, here is where I could really see like where he's just gained so much experience. I think this was published 2015, so like, 11 years ago. That's a gross thought. But yeah, it's really, really good. And it's on par with like the writing of his that I'm used to. So today we're going to be awarding Shadows of Self a total of 4.5 stars. I am very, very excited for the rest of where the new era is going to go because so far it's getting better and better. The first one I gave 4 stars. This one I gave 4.5. And I have a feeling deep in my soul that the next one is probably going to be a 5. So I'm hopeful for that. I'm excited for that. And it's just going to be such a good time. And yeah, I hope that you join me when I do read that book. In the meantime, the next book that I'm going to be reading is The Wolfkin by Laura Palpreyman. And so I want to read this book just kind of like in between reading other books, just because like I only have 2 more days of holidays left. And so I want to try to read a slightly bigger book. That way I don't have to spread it across the week. And then I can read Mistborn Era 2, Book 3, or Book 6 after I finish this book. So just going to take a little pause, read this, and then get back into Mistborn. So if you're interested in watching me read The Wolfkin or continuing to read the rest of the Wax and Wayne Mistborn era, definitely go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. And with that, I'm going to wish you warm wishes and fish kisses, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!